Enjoy this interview, and we'll see you guys soon.
Peace.
We are here today with two filmmakers from Australia who have made what may be the scariest and best horror film of all of 2023. It is our pleasure to be joined by Danny and Michael Philippou. Boys, how are you?
What's up? We're happy to be here.
Nice to meet you guys. This is so odd, an MMA podcast. I'm very excited.
Is it surreal? It's out in the world now, officially out in the world. The film is out there. Has it hit you yet that it's official? Like after all the film festivals and interviews, like has it finally hit that the film is out there for the world to see?
It's still, I don't know. We're going to go watch it. We're going to sneak into some sort of theater tonight that's playing it without them knowing that we're there. I think that's when it'll hit me. And I'll be like, oh my God, it's out.
Yeah. I know back home it came out a day earlier, and we've like a lot of family and friends like post. It's surreal. It's so weird seeing we're getting tagged in stories of people with tickets and stuff. It's it's so surreal feeling for sure.
You guys have been on a serious campaign with this. I was actually at the South by Southwest premiere of it to incredible reception. What's the campaign been like for you just in general? Because it seems almost exhausting to just to kind of keep following it around, and it's still not out yet, but you get to watch people watch it and enjoy it.
Well, that's the best part of it has been to travel around to different countries and states and watching it with different audiences. And like, I love sitting in, and it's always an alive crowd, and there's always reactions, and it's like, it's so fun and like really beneficial for the next one to hear what beats are hitting and what's not. It's that's been the best part for me, is like with the crowds.
Yeah, it does come with a weird fatigue though, and it's strange. It's a strange fatigue that like, because it is like very intensive, like a lot of like interviews and traveling, but ultimately so much fun. So much fun.
Yeah.
We were actually at the San Diego Comic-Con screening, and Michael, I talked to you afterwards. We were sitting right next to you, and you were like hiding your eyes at the end of the film. So I know it's like a nerve-wracking experience, but I loved it actually. So I watched it at San Diego Comic-Con. I went and saw it again.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, I remember that.
It's always a bit cringy watching your own stuff.
Yeah, like watching nerd stuff. Like it's tough, but then stop.
So I saw it again last night. I had to pay my money to go see it again because I wanted to see it again before talking to you guys. I think the most important question I have to ask for you today is, where's the hand right now? Like, where actually is the hand right now?
The main one that we used in the film is in my bedroom at home in Australia.
There was 6 made original ones.
Yeah.
But because we thought they were going to get broken and whatever, but they never did. We know where 3 of them are. I don't know where the other 3 are. In the abyss somewhere.
The other 3 are out there.
Somewhere.
I have to ask you guys on the filmmaking side. I think obviously this is your first film, but you're not new to constructing great videos, but constructing a great scare, I think, is something completely different. What challenges did you have the scare in your head, you have it on paper, then you go to shoot, and then you go to edit. What were the challenges for constructing a really good scare? Because we're in the full spoiler territory right now. This movie's scary as fuck. So how did you guys manage to construct good scares?
I know that like once there's so much noise going on set, and there's all lights everywhere, and there's like a dozen people like running around and doing this, doing that, and it feels like so not scary. But then once the actors are in and the lighting's on and the camera's set up, and we go hide in the closet, we shut the door, we put the headphones on.
Yeah, and you got that little monitor, and there's just a screen. It's just the film there.
And they're like quiet on set, and everything shuts up, and then the actor gets into their zone. You can just start editing it in your own head, and you start putting it together, and you're just picturing yourself in the cinema. And I don't know, it's just like, because we've been creating set pieces for so long, since we were like 9, it just comes a weird naturally.
And it's a big thing with rhythm and timing as well. I felt bad because there was once where we had the entire film exported, right? Because that and it's a gigantic process to do the final DCP or whatever. And then we watched it back, and I was like, there was one moment, and I was like, that needs to be a tiny bit longer. And I made them re-export the entire film, make one shot 9 frames longer.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's just like a feeling of timing and stuff, even with music and stuff. Like in my soul, I just like, that just needs to be 9 frames longer. I'm so sorry, guys. And they would have think you're crazy, but I feel bad. They had to re-export the whole movie. But I feel like that was the right decision to make.
Let me ask, as we said, we're in full spoiler territory, so I have to ask like a story point question with this movie, because one thing I loved about Talk to Me was the originality of it. Like, I love possession films. Like, I'm not to like get like too deep into conversation. I'm not a religious guy, but I love possession films. I love The Exorcist. I love The Last Exorcism. But your possession film is so different. The approach you took, not only using the hand, but I'm just talking about like the entire process. How was that, like, creating something new? Because listen, I watch a lot of horror films. I love horror. You probably see behind me all the horror stuff I have. Love horror, but it's tough to find originality in horror. Like, I applaud great people who could go out there and do it. And for first-time filmmakers, like, what was the process of coming up with the story and actually making it like different and new in a genre that, let's be honest, there's a million possession films out there?
Well, mainly from my point of view, like we wanted to make something that was modern and current. So it's like our experience with, I guess, just youth culture today and the way how social media runs things. It's like, I haven't really seen that portrayed authentically much in films. So
it's a bit overdone. And like, whenever you see like a filmmaker's perspective of what like an influencer is, it always feels like this weird caricature of that, and it never feels like a real person. And so I know, we're just sort of
like, what would kids be doing today if you could use something and get possessed? And that's exactly what would be happening. Kids would be using, we all have this now, that attention-seeking like antics about us through social media, and we need to be seen, we need to be accepted, and like that I feel like that's what would be happening, like if it was a real thing.
But I think always that the way to make something original is just to not be too inspired by other scenes too much, and just try and be inspired by your own life and your own experiences and people that you know, and just try and be more personal with the story.
That's a great point, because I really do feel like the characters in this movie are authentically teenaged. Now, here in America, it's very typical for us to like cast like 25-year-olds to play 16-year-olds. Were the actors in this pretty close to high school age? They truly felt like authentic teenagers.
Yeah, well, the casting process was always about finding people that felt right. And then some of them were a bit older and some of them were the exact age. It was like a bit of a mixture, but mostly, yeah, they were skewing younger. And it's all about that rehearsal process as well, where you really talk through it with them and make sure that their voice is heard, and that like they can change dialogue if something doesn't feel comfortable. And we can talk about experiences that they can relate to and tie to their own character. And they even had input with things such as their costume and things like that. So just say it felt like they were themselves.
Yeah. Even getting them to, in the rehearsal process, act through scenes or moments in the characters' lives that are never going to be on screen, but having that sense of history. So we'd act through like moments of their lives as their characters, because then they've lived through them in some way. And also with the language, like I didn't realize, so someone told us, like, there's a lot of swearing in the movie, like a ridiculous amount. It's like over 100 swear words or something like that. But it was just like, because we didn't have to worry about studio and things like that, because we did it independently. So it was just having the voices be authentic, things come across as authentic as possible.
Well, even Riley and James are based on our neighbors, Riley and James. And James, who James is based on, played James in the movie.
Yes.
I would love to do a quick follow-up on that. I actually did get a chance to talk to Joe Bird, who kind of steals a bunch of scenes in this movie. And he was telling me about how he did his own stunts for his very like harrowing scene where the possession goes out of control. Talk a little bit about that experience on set with Joe, having to like basically smash himself into oblivion.
Well, he said, "You want to be an actor? Prove it."
Smashed it into the table. Everyone's, it looks so real. Like, yeah, it is. But he was just so game. And like, it is like an intense scene. So it's kind of, we had a way that we wanted to attack it safely and in our way, but we had a few different ways to approach. So we shot it a few different ways, but the original way that we had in our heads, the way that we used. And it's kind of like, it is interesting because he was headbutting a foam tabletop for a lot of the scenes, but it's painted, it looks lifelike, it looks like real. So having that in your head, like when you're looking at it, it is tough to kind of separate yourself. It's like when you're playing VR and you're like, you're not like balancing on a board high in the air, but it feels like that. So it's kind of like a feeling out process and taking it step by step. And it's about having an actor that's game. Like Joe was constantly in makeup, hours and hours of makeup every time, even in scenes where he just had to lay in a hospital bed and say nothing. for like literally 20 minutes. He had to get an hour's of makeup for us, but he never complained once, and he was down.
Yeah.
You guys talked at Comic-Con about the one shot you guys did, the 50 shot setup that you had to do in 2 hours. And I hadn't seen the film at the time. I saw it afterwards. And honestly, if I'm thinking correct, the montage scene is what we're talking about, correct? Like that ended up being my favorite scene in the entire movie. I loved that. I also learned watching this film that Australian rap slaps really hard, by the way. I was not super familiar with Australian rap, but I learned that watching this movie. You mentioned at Comic-Con, I got to follow up on this real quick. You guys mentioned at Comic-Con that because they say children may be in the audience. Well, listen, there's no children in the audience right now. You said there's some stuff you did cut because it did go a little bit too far. The director's cut of Talk to Me. Can I ask, like, what scene are you talking about that did go too far that you guys added? Because I was fascinated watching the film last night thinking, was it this one? Was it that one? What scene did you guys actually draw back from? Because I'm infinitely curious about a director's cut now.
Well, I don't think we will release a director's cut of that, to be honest. But there's a scene where Mia goes to hell and she sees the other side, and
It goes for like 15 seconds.
but the original cut was 2 minutes 45, and it was like, and there were just scenes that are like, you can't get this past the censors, and so we've added in little flashes. So there's little flashes of it in the scene,
we filmed like it was just the things happening in hell, like other like spirits and things like that, and it was a bit much.
One last question. Sophie is clearly Sophie Wilde, who plays Mia, clearly the star that needed to be for this movie. You guys were adamant she had to be the one. What did you see in her that said, this is Mia, we cannot compromise on this? Because she does a fantastic job.
It was literally in those audition tapes. She blew us away. We're like, what the hell? And we couldn't believe what we were seeing. And we'd spent years. We were on like up to 2 years of casting, and we'd seen so many people. But all of her rehearsals and all of her tapes were like, just blew us away.
Yeah, I remember us even sending like 3 scenes with 3 different emotions, and she just nailed them all. And we took it like we said, we want Sophie. And then because she wasn't a name or a star yet, we lost $1 million out of the budget, but for us, it was a small price to pay. It's like, take as much money as you want. If we get Sophie, we'll pull it off and she just bought it every day.
You need a main character, a strong enough performer that can carry the film. And she was just that. And it was rare. It's rare to find someone that talented. And we're so proud that we get to showcase it to the world.
You guys were asked this before. I'm going to bring it up now. Like you don't necessarily go into a film thinking, man, this is going to be a franchise, but this is a franchise. Like this is going to be a franchise. There's all sides. I was thinking ideas sitting in the theater. Will we get a sequel to Talk to Me? Is there an idea out there in your head? I know you guys have other things going on. Street Fighter. I know you guys have other things happening right now, but is there a chance we will get a Talk to Me sequel?
Man, if A24 gave us the opportunity, we'd jump at it in a heartbeat. I'd love that, but it's not up to us. Like, we're here if they're ready, we're down if they're ready. So the ball's in their court. Hey, come on, A24.
It was naturally when you're writing a film, when you like the world and the characters, you naturally just write other scenes. So there was stuff being written.
Yeah. Even when I was writing the first film, I was writing scenes for a second film. But
speaking of sequels, it would be cool. Like that, I was something I thought of, like having different unique filmmakers from different countries doing their version of like a story of the hand. I think that would be really, really cool to do as well.
But I feel like I'd get a little bit, I do like writing, so I'd love to write my own too.
Yeah, you can write your own. No one's going to watch it, but we'll give it to someone else. Another mover. Michael's out of this interview now. Next. Wait, you guys MMA usually like fighting podcasts?
Yeah, we do.
No,
we're
horror.
Yeah, we're horror, but I do MMA. That's my so.
We met Izzy Stylebender.
I saw on the Instagram. I saw you guys met Israel. I saw you commented when the film was coming out. He was super excited about the film coming out.
He is the coolest fucking person ever. He is so amazing. And I feel nervous talking to him, because it feels like I'm interfering with history. I just know that he's so iconic and is going to be remembered as an all-time great. Interacting with him is so strange and surreal, but he's the coolest guy ever. I just wanted to say that.
I got last thing. I'll get out of here on this. You did fight, Michael. As I said, I told you at Comic-Con, I covered your fight. You did fight. Next weekend, big one coming up, Jake Paul versus Nate Diaz. Who are you picking?
Oh, I feel like Jake Paul is just I
love Nate Diaz. but Jake, yeah, it's tough. You know, it is 12 rounds, and you know how Nate's got that. You know, Nate's got that dog in him, and he always outlasts everyone in a fight, and you can't knock him out. So yeah, I feel like in the later rounds, Jake's going to be in deep waters, but I feel like Jake will be able to pull it off just because he's been just boxing. Yeah, but I fucking love Nate Diaz. I love Nate Diaz.
And maybe Israel Adesanya and Talk to Me too. Talk to me, as they said at Comic-Con Talk. Maybe there's an appearance in there. I'm just throwing out ideas.
Sorry, Israel Adesanya. I'm all for it.
Just start head kicking demons.
Yeah.
I feel like there'd be no danger or no fear of anything going wrong if Izzy's in the ring.
Yeah, imagine Izzy, like, you're possessed by Izzy. And
You'd have to kill Izzy in the cold open. He would have to be the death in the cold open because who's beating him?
Yeah, exactly.
Guys, thank you sincerely. Thank you for the time. Loved the movie. I think it's going to end up being the best horror film of 2023. You guys did a phenomenal job. Thank you for taking the time, and best of luck with all the things you have going on in the future. Hopefully we can catch up again one day.
100%. And I'm going to do another fight, by the way. I want to do one more.
We'll see.
Oh, I love it. I love it. We have to do just a fight interview at that point. We'll just have to do a fight interview at that point.
It'll be a horror story podcast about
you do that. Me and Patrick will talk about the horror films.
Yeah, we could do that.
Thank you again,
so much.
guys.
Thanks, guys.
Good chatting.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.